Most people live and die without ever realizing what they could become. Over a century ago, Friedrich Nietzsche warned us that man is something that shall be overcome, a rope tied between beast and overman, a rope over an abyss. In other words, human life is a tightrope between what we are and what we could be. Yet most men never dare to cross. They cling to the familiar side of the abyss, safe, obedient, comfortable. They call their timid virtue goodness, their fear morality, and their complacency happiness. Nietzsche had a name for these contented conformists, the last men, who blink and say, "We have invented happiness," while avoiding any great struggle or ambition. This ignorance isn't harmless. It's why most men remain weak, ruled by values and instincts they didn't choose. They become slaves to their comforts and conventions, and slaves never even see the cage they've built around themselves. But the few who refuse to remain ordinary, the ones who step onto the rope and cross the abyss, they become something more. They undertake what Nietzsche described as the three metamorphoses of the spirit: the camel, the lion, and the child. Each transformation requires destroying an old part of yourself and embracing a new power. Those who complete all three stages attain a form of ultimate freedom and strength that Nietzsche often associated with the Ubermensch, overman, the higher type of man beyond conventional good and evil. Power and greatness belong to those who overcome the ordinary within themselves.
If you don't know which stage of this transformation you're in, then you're likely stuck at the bottom. And the most tragic part? Most men think they've already figured life out, convinced they're as strong or as good as a man can be, when in truth they have barely begun to grow. They mistake obedience for virtue, rebellion for freedom, or worst of all, they stop evolving entirely and sink into comfortable mediocrity. Today, we will shine a light on each metamorphosis. Be brutally honest with yourself about which form truly fits you. Because if you lie to yourself here, you'll remain forever on that wrong side of the abyss. Another forgettable soul who never became what he could be. But if you face the truth, if you dare to undergo the painful metamorphoses, then you can transform. Let's begin with the first stage most men never surpass. Stage 1, the camel, the burden bearer. Look around and you will see him everywhere, the dutiful beast of burden who loads himself with society's heaviest weights. He toils under expectations, obligations, and "thou shalt" commandments ingrained in him since childhood. The camel kneels and says, "Put a load on me." He seeks to please, to obey, to be good as defined by others. In fact, Nietzsche writes that the strong spirit in this stage wants to be well laden, asking, "What is the heaviest thing that I may take it upon me and exult in my strength?" This is the camel's curse. He thinks carrying burdens makes him strong. He measures his worth by how much he can endure for the sake of duty. The camel personifies what Nietzsche called slave morality, a mindset born from the weak and meek. In this mindset, being harmless, humble, and self-sacrificing is seen as the highest good. The camel prides himself on being virtuous by these standards. He turns the other cheek, suppresses his own pride or ambition, and gladly accepts suffering as a badge of honor. Why? Because he's been taught that to be virtuous, he must submit to God, to society, to tradition, to his betters. His entire identity is built on obedience. He carries not only physical burdens, but moral burdens imposed by others' values. Deep down, he believes if he just follows the rules, works hard, and asks for nothing, he'll be respected and loved as a good man. But here's the cruel truth. The camel is not powerful. He's obedient. All his life is lived for someone else's approval or some external ideal of duty. He has no will of his own, only the will to shoulder more weight. Society praises him for this. He's the reliable employee who never says no, the nice guy who swallows his pain, the believer who never questions the commandments. People point to him and say, "What a good man." And he basks in that praise. It is the only nourishment his ego gets, but it is weak food, a diet of straw.
Inside the camel, there is often a growing resentment, a faint whisper of discontent. He is bowed low for so long that his spirit aches. He begins to suspect that those he's carrying do not care about him at all. The masters he serves, bosses, family, leaders, even friends, take him for granted. The camel does everything right, yet somehow he feels empty, invisible, even exploited. And he is, because no one truly honors a man who doesn't honor himself. The camel's submissiveness, which he thought made him good, only makes him invisible and replaceable. Worse, the camel's so-called virtue is often fear in disguise. He lacks the courage to say no. He avoids conflict at all costs. He claims to be humble, but really he's afraid of disapproval, afraid of guilt, afraid of his own desires. This is not virtue. This is obedience disguised as virtue. The camel has chained himself in obligations and calls it morality. Nietzsche would say he is living by borrowed values, the thou shalts of some great dragon he has never dared to slay. You'll know you're a camel if you feel crushed by expectations, yet terrified of disappointing anyone. If you constantly seek permission and validation for your choices. If your goals and values are inherited rather than chosen, following what your family, religion, or society said you should do with your life. A camel often dreams of escape or glory, but quickly squashes those dreams as selfish or too risky. He returns to his load, convincing himself that someday all this sacrifice will pay off. Someday the masters will reward him. Someday he'll have proven his worth and can finally rest. But that day never comes. The more dutifully he serves, the more burdens are piled on his back. And eventually, one of two fates awaits the camel: collapse or transformation. Some camels simply break, their spirit crushed by a lifetime of living for others. They collapse into bitterness or sink into the gray herd of the last men, chasing trivial comforts since higher aspirations seem impossible. But others, a rare few, reach a breaking point that doesn't destroy them but awakens them. They get angry. They feel for the first time the surge of a new will. Enough. I have carried all of this for others, and I still don't know who I am. In that lonely desert of disappointment, something in the camel rebels. Thus begins the second metamorphosis. Stage 2. The lion, the rebel and conqueror. In Nietzsche's allegory, the camel flees into a lonely desert and there undergoes a startling change. Here the spirit becomes a lion. He will seize his freedom and be master in his own wilderness. The lion is the spirit of rebellion and self-determination. The second stage is born when a man finally refuses to carry any more burdens that are not his own. The lion roars no, a sacred no to anything or anyone who tries to lord over him.
He rejects the great dragon that once dominated him, the dragon Nietzsche names Thou Shalt, shimmering with all the ancient rules and commands. The lion declares war on this dragon of imposed values. Thou shalt, no longer shall you be my Lord and God. I will. He says, this is the lion's defining phrase. I will.
The moment you evolve from camel to lion is electrifying. It often comes in a blaze of anger or courage. The man who is too polite to assert himself, too dutiful to question authority, suddenly he stands up. He confronts the boss who exploited him, or the family who tried to dictate his life, or the society that told him what to desire. The lion is willing to fight for his freedom. He would rather live by his own values or even die for them than live safely under others' values. This boldness is terrifying to those who benefited from his obedience. They will call him selfish, arrogant, even evil. But the lion no longer fears their names. He has felt the first taste of power over himself, and he will never go back to being a beast of burden. Make no mistake, the lion is powerful. He regains pride, the healthy pride the camel had to mortify before. The lion knows his life belongs to him. He becomes selective, even predatory in pursuit of freedom. Enough, he says. I will no longer live as others say. I command my destiny now. There is a majesty to this mindset. You'll see it in the man who walks away from a toxic life, quits the high-paying job that felt like slavery, leaves the community that stifled him, breaks the unfair relationship that drained him, and instead of collapsing, he thrives on his own. The lion takes the wilderness over the barnyard any day. He would rather be a lonely king of the desert than a well-fed servant in the paddock. While others shrink, the lion pounces. While others negotiate and appease, the lion challenges and conquers. This type of man often rises quickly once he claims his independence. He might become an entrepreneur after breaking from a corporate grind. He might become a charismatic leader of a new movement after rejecting the old dogmas. He might simply carve out a life on his own terms, shocking those who thought he would always obey. The lion's motto is, "My life, my terms." In a world full of frightened camels bowing to every "thou shalt," the lion's roar is both inspiring and unsettling. Many will secretly admire him, others will fear him because they cannot control him anymore.
But for all the lion's ferocity and strength, he faces a great dilemma. Nietzsche asks, why is the lion not enough? What more can the child do that even the lion could not? The lion can conquer freedom, but he cannot create meaning. He is a destroyer of old masters and old values, but not yet a creator of new ones. This is crucial. The lion's mission is negative in a sense, to tear down constraints, to say no to the dragon and slay it. What then? Once you've won your freedom, you stand alone in a desert with infinite possibilities and no guidance. Many men stop here, thinking they've reached the pinnacle. They mistake their hard-won independence for a complete victory. They feel superior, looking with scorn at the obedient herd of camels they left behind. They relish in being feared or respected as a fierce individual. Yet, internally, the lion can become restless, even empty. He has spent so long fighting enemies and limitations that he risks becoming defined by that fight. If he's not careful, the rebel can turn bitter and cynical, hating the world he left rather than truly transcending it. The lion without a higher purpose can end up isolated, roaring into the void. He may assert his will, but to what end? Freedom, in and of itself, is empty. It's freedom for something, not just freedom from everything that gives life meaning. If the lion just keeps saying no to all outside influence, he may trap himself in a lonely cage of pride and rage. He becomes the embodiment of defiance, with nothing else to strive for. We see this in perpetual rebels, who rebel even when it no longer serves a purpose. They reject all authority, even when they could now become an authority on something meaningful. They're so used to being against something that they've forgotten how to be for something greater. The lion's pride can also curdle into arrogance. He may start to believe he's invincible, the smartest, the strongest, and that makes him blind to his own limitations. Nietzsche warns that arrogance wrapped in strategy is still arrogance. Even the mighty lion can slip if he underestimates reality. The moment he thinks he has nothing left to learn and no one can surprise or challenge him, he becomes vulnerable. A trap, a failure, an unforeseen adversity can break him, precisely because he thought he was beyond being broken. So the lion must face a final test. Having secured his freedom, can he forget his old battles and turn toward new creation? Can he move from saying no to everything that was to saying a great yes to what could be? As Nietzsche puts it, to create new values, that even the lion cannot do. But to create freedom for new creation, that the lion's power can achieve. The lion clears the land. Now the child must build on it. If the lion stage is about destruction and self-assertion, the next stage is about creation and self-overcoming. Few make this final metamorphosis, but those who do become something truly extraordinary.
Stage 3. The child, the creator of new values. After the lion's fierce struggle, Nietzsche says the spirit undergoes one more transformation. The lion at last becomes a child. This child is not childish in the naive sense. It is the symbol of new birth, creativity, and true freedom. The child is innocence and forgetting, a new beginning, a game, a self-rolling wheel, a sacred yes. In this final stage, a man transcends the conflict between obeying others, the camel, and defying others, the lion. He is no longer defined by the burdens he carried or by the enemies he defeated. He has forgotten these old constraints in the way a child forgets yesterday's concerns. Now, everything is possible to him. He becomes a creative force, the master of his own world. Imagine the pure playfulness of a child combined with the wisdom and strength earned through the first two stages. That is the spirit of the true creator. The child does not ask for permission like the camel, nor does he react in opposition like the lion. He simply acts out of his own inner necessity. He creates values, meaning he decides for himself what is important, beautiful, and true, and lives it. This man has reclaimed the freedom to say yes to life on his terms. Nietzsche calls it a sacred yes, a wholehearted affirmation of the world and his role in it. The childlike spirit wills its own will. It chooses its path with the same naturalness and joy that a child playing a game chooses what to play.
You will know a creator when you meet one. There is a kind of radiance and authenticity to such a person. They do not preach or rebel, they embody. They have a vision or values that seem to flow straight from their core, not borrowed from convention nor merely contrarian. In their presence, you might feel unshackled,
as if they permission you to be free as well, without ever explicitly saying so. They often inspire others effortlessly. Think of great innovators, artists, or spiritual leaders who changed the world by introducing something truly new. They had the spirit of the child. They were willing to discard established rules and also move beyond negation to creation. Where the lion said no to the old, the child says yes to the new. However, becoming the child is perhaps the hardest transformation. Why? Because it requires total self-honesty and courage. To create your own values, you must know yourself deeply, and this means you've confronted the camel's fear and the lion's pride within you. The child stage is one of self-mastery. The man who reaches it has integrated the lessons of the previous stages, the discipline and resilience of the camel, but now self-imposed for his own aims, and the courage and independence of the lion, but now without the bitterness or reactive anger. With those strengths combined, he gains something greater: vision. The child can see possibilities that others, still caught in obedience or rebellion, cannot see. He approaches life with playful creativity. To him, constraints can become new games to play differently. Challenges become chances to invent new solutions. He doesn't carry the past on his back, nor does he rage against it. He has moved beyond it.
The child is not a return to ignorance. It is a return to purity of motive. It is an innocence that gives him clarity. He can genuinely ask, what do I truly want to do, to be, to create in this life? A question the camel never dared ask, and the lion only asked in order to defy others' answers. The child asks it in open curiosity, with joy rather than anger. And then, crucially, he answers it by creating. Creation can mean many things. It might be literal, creating art, technology, enterprises, philosophies, anything that introduces new value into the world. Or it can be personal, creating yourself, crafting your character and life as a work of art that reflects your true spirit. The key is that you are now the author of your story, not a character in someone else's script, not merely an editor redlining the old script. The child writes something original. There's tremendous power in this. The world yields to the man who knows what he wants to bring forth. People throughout history who've had this self-generated purpose have a seemingly unshakable drive. They don't need external validation, like the camel, nor constant opposition, like the untamed lion, to move them. They are self-propelled like a wheel rolling out of its own center.
Does the creator face challenges? Absolutely. Perhaps even greater than before. The world does not always welcome the new. The creator may be ridiculed, opposed, even hated by those who don't understand his vision. He will certainly walk a path that fewer can share because by definition, he is going beyond the common values. There was a potential loneliness here, just as there was for the lion. He might not be widely understood, at least not until the world catches up to the new values he's introduced. Every truly innovative or extraordinary person has faced this. But unlike the lion, who can grow bitter in isolation, the child remains at play, even if alone. He has a kind of trust in himself and in life that carries him through doubt. He doesn't need the herd's approval anymore. He doesn't even need their opposition as fuel. He is moved by an inner conviction. Yet the creator is not wholly alone. In fact, by creating new values, he often builds a new community or era around those values. Think of pioneers who lead movements. At first, they are solitary voices, but their ideas resonate and gather others after them. The child says the first yes to something novel, and in doing so, gives others permission to follow. In Nietzsche's vision, the Overman, or higher human, would inspire humanity the way a lightning bolt ignites a fire. The creator might be rare, but his influence can be profound. Now consider what this means on a very personal level. Have you reached this stage? Very few have. It's okay if you haven't. It's a journey. But you must ask, are you even aiming for it? Many men stop at rebelling against their parents or society and think that's the peak. It's not. Rebellion is just clearing the canvas. Creation is painting your own masterpiece on it. Are you painting yet, or still just cleaning off the old paint? To reach the child stage, you have to let go of your resentments and fears completely. You must shed residual habits of seeking praise or needing enemies. You stand authentically yourself, ready to play the game of life by your rules.
This final metamorphosis is the ultimate power Nietzsche envisioned. A human being who is self-legislating, who embraces life in all its aspects, both light and dark, and says yes to it. This is the Übermensch, not a tyrant over others, but a master of his own spirit. He is beyond the ordinary concepts of good and evil that were born of camel-like submission and lion-like negation. He creates his own good and his own purpose. He is, in Nietzsche's words, the world's outcast who conquers his own world. And in doing so, he elevates the world itself. Embrace the metamorphosis, from shadow to light. At this point, you might recognize parts of yourself in each of these stages. Perhaps you see that one of them has ruled you up to now. Maybe you've been the camel, thinking your compliance made you righteous while secretly feeling powerless. Maybe you've tasted the lion's freedom, but you're stuck in continual battle, defined by what you oppose rather than what you love. Or maybe you've glimpsed moments of the child's creative joy, but haven't been able to sustain it, falling back into old patterns. Most men are ruled by one stage, influenced by another, and pretending they've mastered all. But real power, real self-mastery, begins with brutal honesty about where you are. Nietzsche's Metamorphoses are, in a way, a journey of radical self-awareness and courage. Remember, the camel in you is that shadow that craves approval and safety. It's the part that would rather obey and fit in than stand out and risk rejection. Acknowledge it. There's no shame in seeing your inner camel. We all start there. But do not let it run your life. The lion in you is the shadow that craves power and autonomy so much it might reject others outright. That fierce independence can be double-edged. It can liberate you, but it can also isolate you, if not guided by wisdom. Recognize your inner lion, harness its courage, but beware its pride. The child in you, perhaps long forgotten, is your capacity for wonder, creation, and authenticity. It's not a shadow, but a light, one that gets buried under years of social conditioning and cynicism. To become it, you must reclaim that light-hearted seriousness, the determination of a grown man fused with the openness of a child. Understand, none of these stages is about literal age. A young man might already be a lion in spirit, and old man might still be a camel and vice versa. These are states of being, and you can move between them if you have the will. Nietzsche's map is not a strict progression that automatically happens with time. It is a challenge. He's asking, will you undergo these transformations? Most people never leave stage one. They live and die in harness, never understanding why they feel unfulfilled. Some break free into stage two, but many of those get stuck in perpetual revolt or become consumed by their own ego battles. Only the rarest souls reach stage three, and even fewer stay there consistently. It is in many ways an ideal to strive for, a direction rather than a destination.
The good news is, every step you take toward that ideal yields strength and freedom. Each metamorphosis you achieve, even partially, gives you a taste of what it means to be the master of your own life. And that taste is unlike anything the passive herd of camels or the angry pride of lesser lions will ever know.
It's the taste of true agency, true purpose. It's what Nietzsche meant by becoming who you are, fulfilling your highest potential rather than staying a mediocre version of yourself. So ask yourself now with clear eyes, which stage are you in? Which stage dominates your mindset today? Have you been content to bear others' values, calling it virtue, while your own dreams die? Have you simply flipped the table and rebelled, defining yourself by what you are not without deciding what you are? Or have you begun the harder work of creating meaning, crafting a life that reflects your unique spirit? Be honest. This is the moment of truth, where either you see the path ahead or sink back into comfortable denial. If you find that you're largely a camel, don't despair. Anger can be your fuel to ignite the lion within. If you find you're a lion stuck in bitterness, know that forgiveness and playfulness are keys to unlock the child's creativity. And if by chance you're nearing the child stage, stay humble and keep your lion's strength at hand. You'll need both innocence and prowess to bring your visions to life. Each stage contains the seeds of the next. The camel's burden teaches endurance, needed by the lion. The lion's solitude teaches self-reliance, needed by the creator. Nothing is wasted if you learn from it.
Remember, Nietzsche's challenge to humanity was ultimately a hopeful one, that we can overcome ourselves and become something greater. The journey is difficult. It is a dangerous crossing, a dangerous looking back, a dangerous trembling and halting on that rope over the abyss. Many fall, many turn back, but those who make it to the other side justify all of humanity's struggles. They are the ones who advance our world, who inspire others, who live fully rather than merely exist. The power is in your hands. No one else can force you to transform. In fact, others will likely discourage you because your growth challenges their comfort. But if you're listening this far, a part of you is already tired of being ruled by fear or emptiness. A part of you knows it's time to break the mold. It's time to stop being a pawn in others' games and start creating your own game. As Nietzsche said, the spirit now wills its own will. The world's outcast conquers his own world. Will you conquer your world? Take a moment and envision your life if you fully embraced this path. The honesty of the camel, to see your weaknesses without denial, but no longer glorify them. The courage of the lion, to destroy the chains and assert your will. And the joy of the child, to build something beautiful and true to yourself. That combination is exceedingly rare, but why shouldn't it be you? There is no law of nature that says you must remain as you are. Self-transformation is your birthright as a human being. Few use it. Most dismiss it as impossible or impractical. And so they live small, but you don't have to.
Remember, this message resonates with that deep part of you. If it challenges you in a way that feels uncomfortably true, then you are exactly the person it was meant for. It's a call to your inner lion and inner creator to wake up. From here forward, every time you catch yourself acting like that dutiful camel or that aimless rebel lion, you'll know it. You won't be able to pretend you're just doing the right thing when in fact you're betraying your potential. You won't be able to pretend your cynicism is wisdom when it's actually just hurt pride. You will see through your own masks, and that is the beginning of real self-mastery. Because when you finally admit to yourself which phase has been governing you, you don't become weaker, you become aware. And awareness is the first step to freedom. The camel's burden, the lion's roar, they become tools in your toolkit rather than unconscious drives. You can call on endurance or defiance when they serve you, but you are not ruled by them. You become the ruler of your inner world. This is what it means to, as Nietzsche urged, become who you are. Not the fragmented, conditioned you, but the integrated, self-directed you. Picture that integrated man, the one who has passed through the fire and come out refined. He carries responsibility when he must, but no longer in blindness. He carries only what aligns with his chosen purpose. He fights battles that matter, but does not live just to fight. He fights to clear the way for creation. He creates boldly, but does not fall in love with his own ego. He retains the humility and curiosity of a child, even at his height of power. This man is not innocent in the naive sense. He is not soft. He is certainly not safe to the status quo, but he is awake. Fully, brilliantly awake. In a world of sleeping men, he is the most alive soul of all.
If you've come this far, it means some part of you is already awake or waking up. Nietzsche believed that part. Call it your will to power, your inner hero, whatever, is in all of us, urging us to grow. Do you hear it now? The journey ahead is yours to choose. Will you step onto the rope and start crossing toward the person you were meant to be? Or will you retreat to the comfort of what you've been told to be? The choice will define your fate. Most will turn back, muttering that these ideas are too extreme, that normal life is good enough. But a few will say yes, the first sacred yes of the true Creator, and never look back. Remember, man is a bridge, not an end. Your purpose is not to remain a well-behaved camel or an eternally angry lion. It's to use those phases as steps toward becoming the master of your own spirit. So if this struck a chord in you, don't let the feeling fade. Take it as a challenge and begin the metamorphosis. And as you do, keep this in mind. The greatest sin is to sleepwalk through life. You have the map. Now make the journey. Overcome yourself. Create yourself. And become the one who says yes to life. Your new beginning awaits. Keep evolving. And when you're ready, we'll see you in the next chapter.